Hi there, and welcome to DC Daily. I'm Hector Navarro, and today I have Whitney Moore and Sam Humphries joining me. Hi, you two.
Oh, hi.
Hello to you, one.
Whitney can't do that. She doesn't have glasses.
Whitney, put some glasses on, quick. It's too late. The moment's lost. Hey, there she goes.
Guys, we are finishing up our week of Batman the Brave and the Bold recaps with the very last episode of the series, Might Fall. It's a really fully meta episode where Bat-Mite tries his best to get the show canceled. And spoiler alert, it worked because it's the last episode. It's
Ta-da.
Ta-da is right. What did you guys think overall of this episode? Let's start with you, Whitney.
Dude, okay, so once again, I will say that this is my first time watching this show, and I got major Harley Quinn vibes from this episode because of how meta it is. This episode calls out certain aspects of fandom that we don't like to see. I thought it was so funny, and I was surprised by how modern it felt. It felt like something that I would watch today, and I loved it.
Yeah. I think this really cements in my mind the connections between Brave and the Bold, Harley Quinn the Animated Series, and Young Justice. Because all three of them do an amazing job of remixing continuity and concepts of these characters. They bring together disparate versions and visions of these characters, and they synthesize them into one vibe, which is so impressive. They also metatextually call out fan perceptions of superhero content. And finally, they do things that normally people say you could never do, like reveal that I have Batman reveal that he's Bruce Wayne. That's happened in 2 of these shows, you know? But these shows do such a good job of thinking outside the box that they do things that you thought they could never, ever do, and they still don't break the characters.
Including a thing I thought you could never do is have Batman team up with Abraham Lincoln. That happens in the cold open. It's insanity. I think they get away with it.
To the chief.
They get away with it because Batman prevents the assassination of Abraham Lincoln from John Wilkes Booth, who then goes to a full steampunk John Wilkes boom. Like, he goes into a full supervillain mode, and he and the 16th president of the United States of America team up and take him out. And then at the end, Batman says, "It was great to meet you, Mr. President of Earth 5501. Like, it's an alternate reality.
It's so good.
It's
now,
amazing.
Would you guys say that that was a SCCLCCO?
Stone Cold Classic Lincoln
Stone
Cold
Cold
Open.
Classic Log Cabin Cold Open.
Ah,
Very
so
close.
close.
Very close.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you got me, Sam.
I guess I would. I'd probably say that.
Let's get into it. We start this episode. It is so meta. It is centered around the character of Bat-Mite, who I think really outside of the comics, this is the best interpretation I've ever seen of Bat-Mite. And it's now going to be cemented in my brain that whenever I read a comic book with Bat-Mite, I'm going to hear Paul Rubens as the voice of Bat-Mite.
Yes.
It was so
the man
perfect.
himself.
He's so funny on this show.
Love him. Love
He's so
him.
great. He complains about being over this sort of lighthearted Batman series. He wants a dark and gritty Batman. We've heard this argument from fans before. It's a constant thing in the world of Batman. So he decides to mess with the show's universe to get it to jump the shark, literally. Because he's actually seeing Batman jump the shark, and that's when he decides he's over it. He's over the show, these 3 seasons. So he tries to get it canceled. And then the show it doesn't stop with the meta references and the hits. We have got just jumping the shark itself. That's a reference to Happy Days. And then who do we have? Another character, another deep cut DC character who's aware of his own existence as a fictional character, Ambush Bug.
Yes.
Ambush Bug.
Ambush Bug.
All right, look,
It was my favorite part of this episode.
Oh, yeah. I got to show off a comic book here. So this is, again, from my treasured copy of the greatest Batman stories ever told that I poured over as a kid. So this is Bat-Mite's New York adventure from Detective Comics 482 from 1978.
Wow.
And here you see Bat-Mite going to New York and going to the DC offices and talking to the editors and the artists and the writers. You see him holding up comics and pages here, telling them what to do. We often see metatextual TV shows, movies, comics, and say like, oh, that's so modern, and that's like such a 2000s thing or whatever. No. Metatextual references go all the way back to the 70s. They go back to the Silver Age, the Golden Age. They go all the way back to a little author. I don't know if you've heard of him before, William Shakespeare.
I've heard of Bill Shakespeare.
Famed DC writer.
Yeah, William Shakespeare. Yeah,
Yeah.
DC legend.
William's pretty good.
Yeah.
I love how in this episode I had no idea that this was an actual comic book from the 70s, that Bat-Mite is going to the DC offices. It's very much an homage to something like that, to a story like that, and yet it's able to play with the TV tropes we're used to. Who's voicing Ambush Bug? Henry Winkler, the Fonz himself, is voicing Ambush Bug. Incredible. And Bat-Mite pokes fun of the fact that actor Ted McGinley would join a TV show and then the show would be canceled. So he kind of got a reputation for being like a bad luck charm in that way, even though Ted McGinley in this episode points out that Married with Children went on for 7 seasons after he joined the show. So that curse was broken. But Bat-Mite literally magically gets Ted McGinley to replace John DiMaggio as the voice of Aquaman. And Ted does a great job, but it's not the same because we're so used to John DiMaggio's outrageous Aquaman at this point. I thought that was so brilliant. When Bat-Mite gives Batman in the show a wife and a kid, a cute kid character, you recognize that that's like a TV trope, that happens in TV, that
Yes.
when TV shows try to mix things up, or better yet, first we see Ace the Bat Hound, and then Ambush Bug's like, that's a normal Batman thing. That's not breaking any rules. That's okay. But then there's Ace's small nephew character, Punchy Chi. Whitney, you recognize that. That's Scrappy Doo.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I love that.
Scrappy Doo. But it got really disturbing, all these changes to Batman, when they gave him guns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I
think that
felt so fundamentally weird. It would be worse than like walking into my parents doing it.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
I don't know
like,
why I have that image in my head now. Thanks, Sam. So bad.
You don't even know what my parents look like, so you're just fantasizing now.
That's
You're
true.
just calling
Yeah,
yourself
They look like Thomas and Martha.
Yeah, it's just your face with a mustache, your face again wearing a pearl necklace and kissing yourself. And I'm like, Sam's parents. What Sam's bringing up is that the show still understands at its core what Batman is about. At the beginning of the show, Bat-Mite summed up why this show is so great. He summed up why Batman the Brave and the Bold is so great and why it's a love letter to Silver Age comics and to that vibe and that it's funny and it has heart. But then at the end of the episode, when Batman is given guns and he just starts shooting people like on the beach because the show relocated to Malibu, Ambush Bug knew that was wrong. The audience knows that that's wrong. Bat-Mite knew it was wrong. That's why he did it, because he's trying to sabotage this version of Batman. And to see a very silly Bruce Wayne Batman living in this cartoon world has been so much fun for 3 seasons. But even to take that silly character and do something like give him 2 guns to be shooting and to tell the audience, now Batman's somebody who kills people, completely goes against the character. And Ambush Bug sums it up when he talks about how, even though you're a fictional character, real or not, what you do in here matters because people watch you, kids watch you, people look up to you. And I thought that was a beautiful explanation and love letter to fandom and why it is great. Even though this episode in particular is poking fun of those annoying fans, the toxic fandom, it still is able to make me feel good for loving Batman the way that I love Batman and loving DC the way that I love DC. And
totally
then
right.
the show, I thought that was great. Whitney, what'd you think about that?
Well, first I just want to say, like, I had not thought about that part, but it would have been a hollow episode if they hadn't brought it around to that. And that's what makes it so brilliant, is that it isn't just simply saying, like, some fans, we have these gripes with some fans. They bring it back around. They remind us why we love it, which I loved. You're talking about the end where they go back to the studio and decide to cancel the show?
Yes, the studio execs.
I thought that was so funny. The consequence of that was like one of my favorite gotchas I've seen, where before we get to that, I want to talk about the Batgirl show, because that looked so cool. I want that. Why can't we have that?
Pretty darn cool.
Just the animation change, so unexpected, so funny, and give us that.
I cheered to see Babs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think that we've been talking about it this whole week. I think that Batman the Brave and the Bold had to walk so that Harley Quinn could run.
Yes.
Because it knows how to use that meta storytelling to comment on the state of fandom today And just like we might have problems with fandom today, back then, here comes Bat-Mite, excited about a dark and gritty take on the world, and just because the lead is Batgirl, that's not what he wanted. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That would be amazing. This show is everything you want. Batman's still a supporting character. Like, watch that show, support that show. But he was already showing that sort of ugly side of fandom where it's like, no, I like all my stuff to be not necessarily for female audiences or for, other audiences that don't.
I like things the way I remember.
Yeah,
it,
and it's so. Yeah, I thought that was great.
But it's also very ironic because Bat-Mite threw his own Bat-Mite is canceled party.
Yes, he did.
Cancels himself. Cancels himself.
Bat-Mite cancels himself because he has no place in the show that he wants to see.
Yeah. And then the other thing I love that was really, truly sentimental and kind of sweet, because you never see this in an animated show. We got to see their rap party. We got to see all the characters in the studio. Batman saying, I didn't think there would be this many people that showed up. And Ambush Bug saying, I sent the call out. Like, I let everybody know. And they're breaking down the set. And it's this wonderful little moment. And they talk to Batman saying, you had a really good run. And Batman says, a great run. Good night. And they pan out and the whole cast is there. And they're on stage 27, like Detective Comics number 27, the first appearance of Batman. I just thought it was...
And the crew's like lifting the flat Batmobile away. Oh, it was just a standee.
It was great. So what did you guys think of this finale? How would you rank it? And any sort of final Batman the Brave and the Bold thoughts? Whitney?
I loved it. 10 out of 10 for me. It reminded me a little bit of what they do with the Muppets and how like the Muppets are actors. Same with Looney Tunes. Like the Looney Tunes are actors in this thing. And I always love that. I think it's delightful. And I love to think about those characters in that way. I loved it. And I'm going to absolutely go back and watch all of the episodes now. Which is weird because it's like now I'm seeing where it's leading up to. And so I kind of wish I hadn't, but I know it's going to be just as good.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam?
I also give it a 10 out of 10. Muppet Show and Looney Tunes, two other examples in the William Shakespeare tradition of meta commentary. So this is one of the episodes I had already seen, and I loved watching it again. I think it really holds up. And I got more from it this time, having now been on DC Daily and talking with you all so much about what makes an iconic character and why some characters are flashes in the pans and why some characters like Batman last for 80 years and beyond. And what do we talk about all the time? Characters who have very strong emotional cores are the ones who survive. And not just because those are good characters and they're good stories and origin stories, but because if you can hold on to that emotional core, you can do all sorts of different interpretations. That character still survives. And this episode of Brave and the Bold showed that even more than ever, because they mess so much with the vision of Batman and the image of Batman, with the Scrappy-Doo and the wife and the daughter, and even putting guns in his hand. But by the end of the episode, it even starts with him fighting with Abraham Lincoln. And then by the end of the episode, you feel like you've been connected to the same Batman the whole time. And this whole episode is a testament to how strong and iconic Batman is as a character.
Well said.
Sam, don't make me cry, man. That was amazing. Well, this concludes our discussion of Batman the Brave and the Bold. What a fun, unexpectedly touching final episode. Thank you guys so much for watching the show with me, Whitney, Sam. You guys
Thank
are the
you.
best.
This was so fun.
More
I'm so glad we got to watch these together.
And thank you at home for watching the show with us as well. Check back next week for more episodes of DC Daily. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.